Let's see if this works. Okay, we're live. So let us start with 2 minute Shanti, which is silence, because silence is the source of all the colors and of the music. So 2 minute Shanti. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Bristol, again for having us here. And so today we're going to kind of put everything together and also introduce something called Tala. Even though this has been Garland of Ragas, that's nice, but Tala is the other main thing. I mean, the two pillars of Indian music, both Carnatic and Hindustani, are the concepts of raga, which we've basically been focused on, and then of course Tala. Tala is rhythm. And we could do a whole series, like you could do a Garland of Talas if you wanted to class. That would be great. Maybe we'll get Ajit to do that sometime. Or I could do it, I just don't play tabla, that's the problem. But I love the rhythms because Tala and Raga go, I mean, they're like, you can't separate them actually. You see, like even a phrase that you sing, like we'll learn today, or have we done, like a phrase, even an alap phrase, has a rhythm to it. I mean, there's a certain, intonation of the rhythm in each phrase. So, I mean, like, and when you're plucking a string and all of that, I mean, that's all rhythm stuff. So rhythm and melody, they go hand in hand. That's it. It's just I mean, even the tabla, just think in Indian music, the drums are tuned. Literally, the drum is playing notes. I mean, the na and all things, that you tune that tabla, the main sa, and then bun sometimes comes at ni, and then the bhaya even they tune to the low, sa or something, and then you can do all that vibration on the left hand. I mean, that's all melodic,
So when they're in between songs, when they're kind of
tracking
it, is that when they're doing it?
Changing the pitch, putting it back in tune. They're tuning. Just like a sitar has to chick, 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 chick. So once in a while I'm doing that. Same thing, he's doing that with the hammer. He needs the hammer though, just to bang it a little.
But they're changing it to a different tune for that song.
No. It's always wants to be at sa, actually.
Oh,
okay. The pitch. It's just a little out of tune. Yeah, because you're banging it and then it goes out of tune a little bit. But you gotta have it really in tune. Everything is about keeping things in tune in Indian music. And we will stop in the middle of the concert to tune, no problem. I mean, the energy cannot flow properly if things are out of tune. I mean, and there's constantly, tuning going on. You don't even notice it maybe because we do it on the fly. I'm doing it all the time. That's why these micro tuners on the sitar, I'll show it to you more carefully next time. But, instead of tuning the large pegs, the sitar has these micro tuners that you can constantly tune with. And we're constantly checking to make sure we're in tune too. It's just like part and parcel of how it's going because in-tuneness is so important.
But it doesn't happen in Western music. I have never still there is the violin and that you have
Yeah.
to tune.
So like, let's say like a classical concert, you know, at the beginning, the orchestra is always tuning up, you know? That's a very important part. So they're all getting in tune. It's the thing in Western music, I think generally, like many of their instruments don't go out of tune. Like a brass, hard for it to go out of tune compared to like a sitar. Even violin, hard to go out of tune compared to a sitar because you're making all these pullings and all this stuff. And it's like really, the other thing is like you're in an orchestra. So you're creating a large sound because that's part of what a chorus means. A chorus means even everyone singing sa, if two people are singing together, something's a little bit, you know, that has that feeling, but it's a beautiful feeling. That's why choral music is beautiful. We don't have that in Indian music. The idea of choral music is a foreign idea to the, you know, old ways. And that came in later, and then of course people sing in groups now, but we have different ways of doing that. You have call and response kinds of things, but you know, not like in Western music, I would say. I mean, vocal music was like, you know, there's a vocalist. You can get support, but there's still a main person. I mean, fundamentally, that's the thing with everything. It's a very individual thing, actually, in its own way, Indian art forms. Which, of course, relates to, you know, the fact that in the end, all those art forms were about moksha and like attaining salvation. And generally, that's like a, you know, individual pursuit. Although it involves other people and everything, that's fine. But still, yes, fundamentally. Okay, so Raga and Tala. Are there any questions from last 4 times? Questions or no? Rhythm? You've seen it all. Okay.
The only thing,
Please.
You know, whatever teaching us to do. The only thing, because I was going through the rest class and other class, and you are talking about that, the morning raga, evening raga, like that. And you mentioned about Lalit.
Lalit,
Yeah, it's in that you really
early morning.
Very able to chance to play it, and we really get very chance because you know when it is all night concert.
Other than that, you really don't get. Yeah.
But I'm just wondering always that who just picks that. Lalit morning and then evening, then afternoon.
Yeah.
How it has been considered like that?
It's a good question, and there's no real way to say. It's like this unspeakable kind of consensus that develops over time. You know how culture evolves, basically. And things have changed. We know that certain rags probably were not at the same time as we play them today.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So things also change.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say.
Because that's the way did it set up. That, this will be, it's just feelings. You know, sometimes, as you have said, that sometimes, you know, the morning like you can feel it inside. But sometimes, according to your mood, you might have. So who had
true.
Set up that
exactly. You said it. And like in the end of the day, especially with recorded music that we have now, which is what we basically feel free to listen as you like. You know, I learned rags at different times of the day. It's not like I always learn morning rags in the morning. Sometimes if we're working on something, we go on playing that rag, or, you know, so it's okay. And like I'm saying, Carnatic music doesn't even do that anymore. Yeah. So all of that is there, and it's not there, and you can be strict about it or not. Yeah. So even that's, it's hard to say. Sometimes you'll find like one person says one thing, another person says another thing. Then this fellow will go and say, in this Shastra, it was written like this, and so I'm correct on this. And then this guy said, no, my guru is this Ustad, and this Ustad said like that. So everybody has their own. But the funny thing is, you see, like, then you have to think, I mean, this is a big topic of discussion, which we can talk about in my music classes a lot. You know, like when you get a period like nationalism, what does that mean for music? And what did that mean for particularly Indian music? When did we codify and make all like these tots that I was telling you last time? That's Bhatkhande made that system like 100 years ago, man. This has nothing to do with Raga, Raginis, all the old stuff that we talked. These were things that people were doing in the 20th century to codify music as a national art form, to say this is India's ancient music. Now, the politics of that are very complex, that we can get into, but, that's a different story. But things like generally Lalit is a morning rag, everybody knows, probably, got canonized in those periods, Then this whole development of these all-night concerts, then it becomes popular. Like, who's going to play that Lalit at 4 a.m, or who, when you're going to wait for that moment? It's, great. Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, Calcutta, because yes, we are attending the Toberlin.
Oh, Toberlin's the best one.
I have said that who will be the last one.
Yeah, so like Amjad Ali Khan Sahab will always play like his Bhairavi in the early morning. Yeah, Jasraj. Exactly. We're going to listen to Jasraj right now. So, and also think like, we heard a golden age of Indian music. Literally. Nothing like, what happened in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And those masters are, a few of them are still with us, like Jasraj is still here, so good, So anyway, Rag and Tal, these two things are inseparable, that's the main thing. Shruti and Laya, these two things always go together, melody and rhythm. So we'll first quickly review the basic scale of Bhimpalasi. Then I'm going to show Teen Tala, the most basic Tala, not anything complex about it. We have a big discussion about it. I will show you something very basic about Tal that everyone should know. Okay, so let's see if this will work. Let us sing Sa. Sorry. Back to Sa. That's what I want to do. Then we go Ni Sa Sa Ni Da Pa Ma Ga Re Sa Ni Sa Ga Ma Pa Ni Sa Ni Da Pa Ma Ga Re Sa Ni Sa Ga Ma Pa Ni Sa Ni Da Pa Ma Ga Re Sa Ni Sa Ga Ma Pa Ni Sa Ni Da Pa Ma Ga Re Sa. Okay, good. Clear? Okay, Tal. Tal means actually to clap, but basically it's the whole concept of time in India. And the bottom line, this is it. If you want to know one thing, time in India is cyclical. The way we look at, the cosmos is cyclical. That sense of time. The way that the rhythm is made, that's cyclical. So talas are different kinds of rhythmic cycles. That's what we call it. So different talas are there that you can compose in. And those talas are defined by something called matras, which are beats. So you have different talas with different matras or different number of beats. Okay, so there's hundreds of those, and we can discuss them. There's probably about 10, 20 that most musicians can kind of know and actually play, and really only 5 or 6 that you hear in concert most of the time. The most important one by far for the Hindustani music tradition, the number one tal that we all learn, and is really the most basic and most important. It's called Teen Tala. It's a tala of 16 beats. Okay. and it's broken up into 4 sections. Each section has 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, this pattern is realized on the tabla with certain bowls. We will not go into this subject right now because it's too vast and important to even, discuss. For our purposes, remember the first meaning of tal is, and really this is tal is all about, keeping the beat. So how do we keep the beat? And that is important. As a basic student, you don't have to know anything about tabla or anything like that, but as a basic student of raga music, you should keep tal. That is what we're going to learn right now. So keeping tal in teen tala. Now, to understand the basic idea of any tal, there's 2 things you always get. Very, very important. And the most important one is the first one. It is sum. First beat is most important beat, right? It's like where it all comes back together. So sum. It's the exciting thing. Like when we're jamming and doing our thing, we're coming back to that sum, and like that's where we lock back up. After all you do this improvising, you're going here and here and there, boom, sum. So sum is an important part. But to give dynamism to the cycle, can't just be like sum, that's not interesting. You need something dynamic. You need some counter action to that. Power of sum. What is that? Khali. Khali means emptiness, open, space, right? So there's a point in every cycle that there's an empty. An empty what? Empty of the tal, empty of clapping. This, of course, is related to how this tala is realized on the tabla, and this generally means empty of the left hand bhaya, playing the bass. So in a very general sense, khali means leaving out the bass. Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, the great Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, used to say, teen tala is nothing but boom, 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 no, boom, no, boom, 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 boom. That's right. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's the sum. Okay, that what I just clapped, that's how you keep tal in teen tala. Right? So the khali in teen tala comes at the third one. The third 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, sum. Is this clear? Bristol? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look like you weren't doing.
No, it's complicated.
No, yaar, it's not complicated. Is this complicated? One, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yes.
So that space, is that really like that can be opened up into like improv?
No. Everything's available in improv. You think that like a sine wave, like the rhythm is moving, like a wave, and like waves have crests and dips, right? So that dip is just telling you like, and really when you're getting to Kali, that's actually like the real like, that's the propulsive force that's taking you to sum actually,
Oh, so that the third.
Yeah, the third one.
Clapping, that's like the big like. Woo.
Yeah, that's like the empty. That's like it's coming around. Like that's the feeling, right? So if I sang it in terms of tabla bowls, and then of course I'll play it on here too. It's da din din da din din da na din din na din din na that din din na din din na din. So let's keep tal, and you can hear it now on the tabla. Din din 1, 2, 3, 4 2, 2, 3, 4 2, 3, 4 2, 3, 4 1 2, 3. I don't want to hear a clap on 3. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. That's the big one. The This is a clap, wave. This is a clap, and then the big one. Yeah. One, two, three, four. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 4. 4. Yeah, you guys got it. Okay. Is this clear? At least conceptually? All right. Now, let me see if I can sing this thing. I'm not a singer, but let me see. And I can try to do it. Mandiravacha jare apne mandiravacha jare apne mandiravacha jare apne mandirava. It comes like off of some that mandirava. Okay, so let me just explain that really fast. So you have rag, you have tal, then you have guts, or in this case a bandish. Band means tied down, fixed. Matlab, it's a fixed thing. It's a composition that someone made and wrote it, right? So this is like the main refrain that you'll hear, and then we use these bandishes, or in the terms of instrumental music, it's called gut, but we use these to create all the improvisation. So the other thing, so I was just singing the beginning of that. Now, I want you guys to all listen together, and we'll do it together. And it's good to take the time to really listen. I mean, I hope you listen when I send those things because it's important. But this is this composition by Jasraj you were just talking about. So let's listen to it. Someone have a question?
I think I have a question. We need to find the words for it with the three.
With the what? Oh,
like the three.
Oh yeah,
is that just
Kali.
I guess is that the universal template for Tal?
Oh, no. No. The concept of arrest is universal to Tal. The concept of coming back to the one is common to all Tal.
Oh, okay. So there will always be arrest, and there will always be that thing.
Yes, some. Yes.
But it's subjective to what number it's on?
No, yeah, and that's how different Tals have different patterns that do that. All different patterns. There's one Tal where Sam and Kali are at the same place. That's even yeah. One Tal is special Tal. Rupak, very famous,
So the Kali and the third is unique to the Teen Tal.
Matlab, I wouldn't even say unique. It's just the way Teen Tal is.
So the Teen Tal is because it's Kali on the third.
Nay. So this is actually a little bit of a debated point because Teen means three. So why is this Teen Tala called Teen Tal? Well, it's not actually that Kali is coming at 3, but in this Tal, there's 3 claps. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1. 3, 1. That's how the real. Anyway, but that's nomenclature. Just this Tal is the Tal. You take Jap Tala, which is a 10-beat cycle. Now that also actually has a very similar pattern to Teen Tal in the sense that the third division is Kali. So Jap Tala is like din na din din na din na din din na 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1. So it's actually very much like Teen Tala. Whereas Rupak, like the one I was saying, this is a very unique Tal. It has Sam and Kali at the same place. So it's like din din na din na din din na din na. This is really, really unique because usually Sam is a big beat, you know what I mean? But here Sam is giving a Kali. So instead of being like da or something, you're just getting tin, just on the right hand. Tin tin na. So that's Rupak is unique. Okay, like I said, you can have Garland of Tals because Tala is it's a subject of its own, Okay, so let's listen to this thing. Let's listen to a little bit of it, and you'll try to follow along. And listen to this Ja Ja Re Apne Mandirwa. And try to follow the teen tal. I'll tap it for you. I think this is Zakir Hussain playing. So just also hear Rag now. He's just using that one line, but throwing tons, different lines here. Good. Very good. Mandirwa ja ja re Mandirwa. See the next line is good. I mean, this is like, I should also explain those lyrics. This is very typical. I'll show you something else in a second. So this is very typical, having that one phrase, it's like a jazz head. Like you go back to the head, the composition, the fixed thing, and then you have this improvisation. That's really what it's like, like that style, that there's some thing that's fixed that you come back to. Then there's the secondary lines like he was just going into. So this song is like typical of a lot of songs. I mean, sometimes my guru used to say they don't, not really the most poetic things, but people did different things. I mean, Amir Khan Saab used to take Persian couplets and beautiful ones and add them to his recitation. And there's other compositions that do have wonderful lyrics. But anyway, it's one of the common themes, in these songs, particularly this, what we call like sometimes, I don't know. We have to talk to the experts on whether this is exactly Braj Bhasha or what region this is from. But, basically it means, get out of here and go to your place or go home. Because, the next line says, because, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law are around and they're listening and you can then understand what maybe is about to transpire. So that's what these songs are about sometimes. But let me now play a different version so you can hear the same bandish, different artist, same tal, everything. So we can still play along, but then you get now a different sound from it. And this is Ashwini Bide. If I had to say, if there were like 2 or 3 artists that I would go long distance to go actually and hear music, number 1, man, I love her. Great artist. I will say it for everyone to hear it, man. Great artist. Pure. The other one, Venkatesh Kumar, if you can ever hear this. Great artist. Purity, man. You want authenticity in Rag. That's the heart of it. It's not about technique. Technique, everybody has. These guys are all like great technicians, but it's about bhav, that they create that feeling. So you hear her now, I mean, the sonority of the voice. Listen to this. And now she's giving. Let's try to follow these notes. playing with that pa and knee.
जा जा रे अपने मंदिरवा जा जा रे 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 मंदिरवा जा जा
So great, man.
मंदिरवा जा जा रे मंदिरवा जा जा रे
With harmonium accompaniment. That's the other thing here. See, she gave Antara that maybe like a second line. That see how she gave the second time she gave a full embellishment on it. This is how you can play with the bandage. Second line Antara. This has the composer's name in it, just like I told in class. Same Sagarang is the name. Even though I know you want me and love or whatever, love me, desire. I don't know what that was. Something's not right though at the end of it. So that's the whole composition basically. That's the bandish. Now she'll start from tans, right? Lines in the rag. Always going to that jajare. Now, if you listen to these tans, see, this is what we would call the fast deri tans. If you go by rhythm, this is not double. This is 1.5 times the speed of the tan. Of the Tala. I can show you what that means. It's beautiful. Okay. See, this tan is the regular speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. See, I explained. All right, I'll just talk over this a little, okay? Listen, no offense, but what I'll explain. Just a little rhythmic thing you can get. This is the Tala, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's what she's singing that speed, right? Right? Before she was saying that speed, which is 1.5 times the speed I was just singing. See, now she's doing it again. Oh, ha, ha. Beautiful. Now this is, remember the chota khayal. This is the small khayal. This is after she sang. I didn't even notice it's there. This is tarana. You learn a different style. Even after the chota khayal, you can do something like this. This is 8 bell. 12 beat cycle, but fast. And this This uses syllables, not words now. Yeah, that's the fun. And it's all very big. Bean, tamanom, all those kinds of syllables. They call them vocables, I guess. Anyway, I didn't even know this was there. That's great. So listen to these great artists. I mean, just listening to them is honestly the number one thing you can do. That's it, because then you become friends with the rags. You know, and you know the bandishes. Then you hear that bandish. You remember that time that you heard that, and it's like it's great. Okay, any question about this stuff?
So
Yeah,
that's the tabla, right?
tabla. Yeah.
So it started to kind of go. It felt like it was going like faster for a second.
Yeah.
Was that the T top?
Well, right there when she changed the composition. So there was a different composition, which meant it was a whole different tal and a different speed, and everything changed.
So did they revert back to the original one?
What, the original tal?
Yeah.
No. Not, they finished that. It's like they completed that into their next thing. Yeah, but it's all strung along because it's all part of the exposition of the rag. So you can play a rag, let's say, for like she probably played for like, let's say, an hour. Okay, so in the traditional khayal format, you play a little alap, sing a little alap, and then this what they call the bhare khayal, and that will be like 30 minutes, 40 minutes of a very slow tempo where she gives a massive exposition of the rag from the lower register all the way to the high register, like we discussed how the swar bistar. Huh?
That's the Bilambi.
Yes. Ativa lambit. And the khayaliya is that the singers, they take it ativa lambit. Yeah, like they take it like 4 times slower than even like a sitar instrumentalist, right? They have this big canvas, they do that. Then they play like what we heard Jajare for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then maybe like possibly a tanana. But basically, it's that big piece and then like a small piece, and that encompasses the rag. An instrumental format is generally a little different. You get a bigger alap, usually this vilambit gat, which is slow but not that slow, some fast stuff, and then some like extra fast stuff at the end. So, but all of that is variable too.
And when they are changing the Tala,
Yeah.
I think generally, they had some understanding when performance going to change the Tala or something, or it's that tabla is falling when they.
Yeah, I mean
they had some
no, usually the lower player doesn't know what's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of times the artist will, the singer or the instrumental will just start playing the next thing, and they'll know how they have to pick it up, get the tal and everything. Yeah. But that's what musicians do.
That's what musicians. That who are the best tabla player, because some of the times they're not that good. They have some difficulty.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, that also happens. That also happens.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of politics that happen on stage too. Trying to show this thing or making it a difficult thing, or one person trying to play more than another. I mean, that happens. That definitely happens. Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah. People say yeah. Let's not mention any names.
But they are great. But I can see that one tabla player is trying to impress the other and to keep the other one there. And it happened. But two of them are very famous and very well known. But still, they have.
Yeah, I mean, artistry, it involves a lot of ego. Like I'm saying, it's individual pursuit, right? So it naturally, ego. Of course, what art is actually trying to do is destroy ahankara. I mean, that's the real purpose. But of course, it increases it. That's why this is good. In the Yoga Sutras. I mean, you have to understand. Music is a yoga. I mean, if you understand it in the proper sense of what the raga system was all about, it is a type of nada yoga. And then he says this in the Yoga Sutras. I'm just forgetting. What does he say? Tad nirodha. Vairagya, that's the main thing actually. Yes. You know, you have to have a dispassion towards this practice. So you can't get too excited about the powers that you're getting, you know? Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tad nirodha. Sorry, now I remember. Your practice, but it is dispassionate practice. Abhyasa, vairagya. This nirodha, this which you already told us in Shloka 2 or Sutra 2, that yoga is this chittavritti nirodha. So yoga, what he's talking about is yoga only. Yep, clear? Yes. Okay. The one other thing. Any other questions? Okay, so the Teen Tala is pretty clear, right? At least the basic clapping, everything. All right. Now here, I just wanted to show you also one other thing. This is a friend of mine. She's great. She's trying to make it as a classical artist, and these days classical artists often are doing other things too, because the classical world is, well, there's lots of politics involved in the classical world. Let's put it that way, as we were just talking about. But all these, she's great. So here's a composition. It's really short. And then Shankar Thakur, this guy's been doing a lot of stuff with Indian musicians. Same composition, right?
सुन पावेगी सासन नदिया सुन पावेगी सासन नदिया जा जाने अपने मंदिर वाजा जाने अपने मंदिर जा
Those span that he just threw us, that one. Okay, now behind.
हम तो सदा रंग तुमको चाहत है हम तो सदा रंग तुमको चाहत क्या तुम हमसे छलन किया जा जा रे अपने मंदिर वाजा जा रे अपने मंदिर वाजा सुन पावेगी सासन नदिया सुन पावेगी सासन नदिया जा जा रे अपने मंदिर
So that's.
So one other thing.
Yeah.
Every Burmese has to follow the same Tala or no? They can sing it different Tala?
That's a very interesting question. Bandish generally, when someone composes a bandish, they compose it within a Tala. So when a composer makes something, they have to choose the rag and the Tala. Now, however, we have a thing, and then jazz musicians have this too, like any song, any composition can actually be transferred into any Tala. It's okay. So that's actually a fun thing that sometimes people do. They'll take an old composition that's set in, Teen Tala, and then they reset it so it works in Rupak. And that's kind of like another fresh thing you can do. So that's a good question. And that does happen. Yeah. Yes. Because what you're really like going for is that mukra, That first phrase, that ja ja de, you know, how can you fit that? You can probably fit that into a different tal and expand something and make it work. So yeah, we definitely do that also. But generally, if you want to play the composition, you play it in the, yeah. Any last questions?
So when you say like when you're comparing to like jazz, like I'm thinking how you're like, oh, it can be turned into like anything. Is it like a cover?
Well, that's kind of what it exactly like. In a way, everybody's just covering these same 70 rags all the time. That's exactly it, you know? But there's no person that has a copyright on that rag. It's the tradition. You know, they're just entities that exist. So, but when you play a composition, then you play that composition and like, you know, like this guy, Sadarang was the name of this composer. So he put his name in the composition. So you heard every time these people sang the composition, they said, thank you very much, boss. I mean, they're saying, kind of giving him credit. So that's how we give that kind of credit. You know what I mean? So none of this ASCAP or BMI stuff, but oh, it's intense.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, you know, like AS220, for example, they absolutely, you cannot play BMI ASCAP down there.
Wow.
Yeah. Like you can't cover like a Michael Jackson song if you wanted to. Like we got in trouble for covering for us. Yeah, I mean, but for not really because we just hinted at it. It's not like you know. So what is that illegal too? I mean, some of these things to me are just like in the air, like the sound of music. I mean, the hills are alive with the sound of music. It's right there, you know.
It's like everyday conversation.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite, and then you know what we were then quoting is actually, in a sense, not even that version, but Coltrane's version, right? In the jazz context, and with that, so it's like a double quote. I mean, who do you want me to, you know? We're honoring these people. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
even back in like, you know, when jazz was like first emerging in like New Orleans, like if they were covering someone, it was like a huge compliment.
Yes.
Just kind of like over the years when people started making so much money, they just started like, suing each
Well,
other.
and you said it. It all comes down to capitalism and like the finances of it, and that's the system we're in. Well, on that a note, let us just say that you know you can play any rag as you wish. The main thing is to respect it. And I will say this: my Paramaguru learned from his guru that basically, and I really try to do this. I mean it. Is before I start any rag, you have to think of that rag as like this deity that you are trying to invoke and bring to life, and you just humbly submit that hopefully you will do something somewhat right to let this be good. That's it. That's what rag is about, man. That vinaya has to be there, number one. That's why the guru is really important, because the guru just puts you in your place all the time. You know, that's the teacher's job. Anyway, thank you, everyone. We'll continue next time. Very much.
Thank you. So there really could be like a Garland of Tala.